Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for checking out this video. Hope you're having a fantastic start to the weekend. The Fever just picked up another win. That four straight against the Atlanta Dream. So let's talk about it. I got to get this out of the way up front. The officiating was abysmal. Just it was terrible. Now, the game didn't get out of hand in terms of the physicality and what we've seen in some other games. I just think it was just bad. I mean, it was just bad. Um, the Atlanta Dream coach picks up a technical in the second quarter, and then from then on, Atlanta got every single call the entire game. It was ridiculous. And I mean, look, I said this before, you can't just look at teams' free throws out of context and say, oh, the official was favoring one team. But I watched that game, and there was no way that the Atlanta Dream should have been shooting 35 free throws while the Indiana Fever shot 11. That's that's just that's ridiculous. And to me, in looking at that game, because I had some issues with how the Fever were playing after that first quarter, which was a phenomenal start. And to be fair to them, I think part of it was the officiating. It just stopped the game. So in the first quarter, the Fever scored 35 points, okay, in a 10-minute quarter. Okay. That's a 140 point game pace, which they obviously did not sustain at all. They scored 56 points the rest of the game, the other three quarters. That's a problem because that's subpar offense for them compared to what they would typically do. I think they're right around creeping up right around 80 points a game, which is about a 20-point quarter on average. 56 points in three quarters is not that. So it was obviously a big drop. And I think there were two reasons for that. I think they stopped running. They weren't getting out in transition nearly as much as they did in the first quarter. I don't think they're nearly as good in offense when they have to get into a slow down half court offense where they use a lot of shot clock. Um, and that's actually not a negative. I'm not even making that a negative on the coaching or the offense that's run in the half court or any specific player. To me, the makeup of this team is a much better team with the type of players they have when they get out in transition and they're running and they're using everyone in the passing game and they're getting to the basket because look, when Boston, I think maybe she also came into the season out of shape because she seems to be getting ahead of the ball more often in transition. And when she does that, she gets easy buckets. Melissa Smith does that. She gets easy buckets. And sometimes it's not even off the first pass. There's one, two, maybe even a third pass that happens really quick. And then even if the big isn't like Smith or Boston isn't first down the court, they're coming down later. It's still in transition, right? So the other team is struggling to pick up their players and get organized, and an open player comes down the lane late and they receive a pass, and boom, it's a layup. And I think they got away from that, I should say, once they got that big lead, they got away from it in the second, third, fourth quarter. However, I think also it was in the second quarter when the Dream coach got her technical, and then all of a sudden she got the rest of the calls that happened the rest of the game. And that also slows you down too, right? When the officials constantly blowing the whistle, that slows everything down. So I had to start with that. I had to get that out of the way because it was really frustrating to watch. I mean, Aaliyah Boston picked up a technical foul. It was a mess to the point where I don't know if you all caught it. I think it was in the third quarter when Mitchell got knocked whacked in the face, and you saw Caitlin Clark put her arms up and smile. It was kind of it was a shot at the official. It was like kind of a little bit of an obnoxious celebration that hey, the Fever finally got a call, which is basically what she was doing in a way that wasn't going to get her a technical. Um, I think I saw some fun on the bench at one time. I think maybe it was Tammy that got Caitlin smiling and laughing. And it's so weird to emphasize this, but with everything that came along with Clark entering the league from everyone else, and then also what we were seeing from her teammates, it's kind of something that we're all looking out for. And I'm seeing better body language with the entire team toward Caitlin. Tonight, even Wheeler was giving her the ball, but I just see, and I just think that's the time being spent together. They're forced to get to know her. They are seeing how she's playing, and I think they're seeing how the way she plays benefits all of them. And I think it's a situation of just her being her and bringing what she does to the team off the court and on the court, that she's winning them over because they're dealing with her all the time, which is something the rest of the league's not seeing. Another positive I can't believe I'm going to do this. It hurts my heart a little bit, but I do try to be fair, believe it or not, despite all the people calling me certain words in the comments. Uh, Erica Wheeler I thought was just, I really liked how she played tonight. She didn't shoot that well, but I didn't mind the shot she took. She was she was even passing to Caitlin. I mean, I saw one first half where Caitlin came off. Two that stood out was first half where Caitlin came off a screen and Wheeler gave her the ball for a three. And then in the second half, something I've been talking about a lot and harping on, they got out in transition and Wheeler's dribbling up the right side, and outside of her, but trailing her a little bit, is Caitlin Clark. And I'm watching Wheeler, and I saw her turn her head and glance. She's paying attention to that. And she actually stopped outside of the 3 point line and gave that ball up behind her to Clark coming in transition. And then Clark didn't take that three because I guess she wasn't wide open enough. And she started going to the basket, and going back to what I said early, Melissa Smith came running down the lane, right? They're out in transition, and Clark hits her with a great pass in stride, and it's a simple layup. And I think earlier in the season, that doesn't happen because Wheeler doesn't make that pass. And I thought and those are the little things, like they said, that I'm looking for, because I've talked about that before, how her players, her teammates aren't hitting Caitlin Clark on that exact play in those situations in transition. Wheeler was actively looking for it tonight. I could see in her head movement and where she was looking. And I think hitting that to Caitlin was a big deal going forward for the rest of the season. And then you add on the fact that Clark didn't even shoot it, but they got an easy layup out of it because of Smith running the lane. Absolutely fantastic. I saw where Mitchell actually set a good pick for Caitlin Clark, and then when Clark received the ball, Mitchell got it back and got into the lane for an easy basket, which was awesome. So that was fantastic as well. I wanted to, before I get into more with this game, I just want to give two really quick examples. Well, I mean, they're from tonight, but this goes to the rest of the season and the issues we're talking about, because I want to get into um, the turnovers, right? We talk about the turnovers a lot and the type of turnovers, and this is not calling out anyone. This just happened because they've cut down on this a lot, and this just happened to happen tonight, and this was to Mitchell, right? So we get a play like this, and there's that should be an easy layup, right? And I'm not saying it's an easy pass, but as a professional, and Mitchell would tell you this, she's got to catch this ball. This is great vision. This is an easy bucket, but she doesn't catch it. And that could be, just like any NFL receiver will say sometimes, you have a lot of space, and so you start your running before you actually make sure you caught the ball. And so that's a turnover that everyone needs to be okay with. And even when it's not, and I want to point out, even if that say had gotten deflected or it was just a little high, and Mitchell didn't drop it, it was just maybe a little high for her, so it's completely on Caitlin. You still have to be okay with that pass, because those are the types of passes she sees and she's going to attempt, because more often than not, you're going to get something good out of it. Which takes me to this type of example, right, where she's Magic Johnsoning this stuff without the looking, and this is boom, great pass to Aaliyah Boston going down the middle, right? So because you're going to get those types of things, or the transition play that I talked about where Wheeler dropped it to her trailing outside. She didn't take the three, and then she hits um, Melissa Smith. And so those turnovers, and I talked about how great players turn the ball over a lot anyway, because they have the ball a lot and they try and make things happen. Those turnovers are, it's okay to be okay with those turnovers. I guess is what I'm getting at. However, I will also say, and I'm going to give a slight criticism to Caitlin Clark here. The turnovers that bother me are when she gets her pocket picked dribbling, because I think it's one. I think she's got her eyes elsewhere. I think she is set on running the offense and making a play that she kind of gets a little unfocused on the fact that she's got to take care of the ball. And this goes back to what I said in another video about her defense and what I think the problem is. Defensively, she's too high, right? She's not bent enough at the knee and bent enough with a straight up and down back, not completely straight, but she stands too high defensively and is leaning over too far at the waist. She does that when she dribbles sometimes too, not when she's dribbling up court, right, and trying to be quick. She can be quick and explosive, but when she pulls up and they get into that slowed down half offense and she's not really going at the defender, she's more standing and maybe slowly walking forward. She gets too upright the same way, and then that's when it's easy to pick her pocket, as opposed to being more crouched in an athletic stance with that off ball arm in the way so she can't have her pocket picked. So I think that's those things offensively, cutting down on those turnovers is something she does need to do. So again, for all the people screeching, there you go. I threw a criticism Caitlin Clark's way. That's something that she can definitely work on, and cutting down on those turnovers would be a big deal. Melissa Smith, fantastic tonight. This may be the type of team you see where the leading Clark's going to get her points and she's probably going to be the leading scorer, but she's not necessarily going to be consistently the leading scorer every night. I talked about a big three last time, mainly because I was thinking of it in terms of points, but we probably maybe have to add Melissa Smith to it being a big four. If Melissa Smith's head is in the game and she's active and aggressive, and she had 21 tonight. I think what let's check 21 and 9 boards. See, I wasn't sure if it was 9 or 8. 10 of 17. She led the team in shots by far. Right. So she was very active and she was running the lane. I called her Alyssa earlier, didn't I? Aaliyah Boston got a little bit of foul trouble, so didn't play as many minutes. She had a double double. She only took 5 shots, but she made all 5 shots. Right. And she was obviously very efficient, very effective. She also grabbed 10 rebounds and she had a great game overall. Just the way the offense went tonight, even though they scored a lot of points, she didn't get a lot of shots. But again, with the way they're starting to move the ball, that's going to happen from time to time to really any of those four, because any of those four, Smith, Boston, Clark, Mitchell, they're all capable of 20 plus. And like Mitchell is a very streaky shooter. So when she's hot, yeah, she's going to start taking some more shots and she'll take more shots that maybe you don't want her to take, but that's what streaky shooters do when they're on. And so again, kind of like the Clark turnovers, it's something you live with from time to time. And I've started to see her pass a little bit more to Caitlin Clark, where earlier in the season, she literally was not passing to her at all. Um, Boston, it's going to depend, because as good as she is in the post, and she is, the team is better when they're running, and that includes Boston. Okay, so I'm not saying ignore Boston. Aaliyah can get her double digits. She can get her 14, 15 in the running game with easier layups. And then when you are forced into a half court set, you can get balls into her and get baskets that way. It can be a very, very dynamic offense because, and right now, they're still keying on Caitlin Clark overall. But if Mitchell and Boston and Smith get this consistent, if Samuelson and Wallace, who's 3 for 4 tonight and 1 for 2 on three, if they start, and Lexi Hull was 2 for 4 and she also was 1 for 1 from three. If those players start hitting the open shots that they're getting, and you've got Smith and Boston and Mitchell being productive, at some point other teams are going to have to say, okay, maybe we key on Caitlin, but not as much as we were. And then guess what's going to happen? Caitlin Clark's going to go off, right? And she's going to have that game where she's taking 17, 18, 19 shots and she's shooting over 50% and she's scoring 30. So it becomes like, okay, when they're all clicking, what do you do? It can become a very, very dynamic offense, as we saw. It should have been an easy 100-point game tonight, but they did go through a lull. They got out of the transition game, and they also, I think, all the fouls being called against them made it a struggle too. They also had a stretch where, and look, this happens in games sometimes, especially when you get a big lead. They did have a bad stretch there for a little while where they were not getting enough defensive rebounds or loose balls. That was a problem. But and I think that's another thing as a team they have to do better is defensive rebounding because that's what gets them out into transition, right? It's a lot more difficult to run when the other team's scoring. And defensively, they're still not very good because again, don't forget not to again, it was a good win, enjoy it. But at this point, we're starting to look at more often than not, they're going to beat the teams they should beat. So it's what do they need to do to reach that level of being maybe not the Liberty and Sun, but that second top tier and starting to, and being more competitive with those teams, maybe stealing a win here or there, beating the aces and teams like that. What do they have to do? Because don't forget, Ryan Howard destroyed the Fever last time they played the Dream. She had, I think, 26, and she missed a chunk of time because she got into foul trouble. She didn't play tonight because of that ankle that may keep her out of the Olympics. I'm still not sure about that. But another thing to Caitlin, also go back to a little critical. I meant to mention this about her defense. Sometimes she loses sight of the ball defensively, which is, I mean, you got to be focused on your teammate, but you also always need to know where the ball is. So look, Caitlin, call me. We're gonna get you into you don't get into an athletic stance enough defensively or when you're dribbling and you've got a defender up in your grill. Okay. So give me a call. We're gonna work on that. I'm telling you, you're gonna be a two-way player, you're gonna be a better defender, you're gonna stop getting your pocket picked. Understand? All right then. And like I said, I don't mind the passes for turnovers, but the dribbling stuff's gotta be cut back on. She's too good for that. Again, she had a couple of really good drives to the basket tonight. She's shown more of that in the last few games. It's becoming more part of her game, and she's finishing, which is fantastic. Uh, One of them that she had tonight, she used that hesitation. The defense is thinking they're out in transition. She's open. She's pulling up for that three. She starts to slow down, and then boom, puts it into another gear and goes hard to the basket, which is really, really good. Um, so overall, that was a great team win tonight. I think they played really, really well. Like I said, they got into that lull. It happens sometimes with a big lead. You're not running as much because you have a big lead, and then it just takes you get all out of sync with what you're doing. All of a sudden, like every time you breathe on Atlanta, the referee's blowing the whistle, which was just ridiculous. Um, but overall, I'm trying to think real quick before I let you go if there was anything other that I could think of. I got to call out Alyssa Smith's hustle play tonight. I don't know if you ever remember it. It was in the second half where I think it was Mitchell was under pressure and threw the ball back out, and it was going to be a backcourt violation. And Alyssa Smith actually dove on the ground, and the ball had gotten by her, but she dove on the ground, got her hand on it. Caitlin Clark ended up picking it up, so she saved. Alyssa Smith saved what would have easily been a fast break 2 points or at the very least a turnover to give Atlanta the ball. So I got to give a shout out to that. That was pretty awesome too. So I'm gonna leave it there. Big game on Sunday, obviously. Oh, one last thing. I know what I want to say. I don't know if you all caught it on the screen where they put up the thing about uh sold out, right? I forget what it was. I forget the exact number, but it was like 17 5 somewhere 17 5 75 I think tonight, right? Because they moved it to a bigger stadium because of course Caitlin Clark, and it was this thing that was on the screen that said sold out, thank you Dream fans. And I'm like, no, 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 stop it. It wasn't Dream fans. Did you see the 22 jerseys in the crowd? Okay, let's stop the nonsense. It's okay to give Caitlin Clark credit for moving you to a bigger arena and selling out a record attendance. Okay, that's cool. It's fine. Now you got to put the product on the court and keep those fans. That's all. So yeah, but the question's going to be is can they improve on the little things that we talk about and be more consistent with the good things so that they can take it up a notch and play with those top teams in the league? Which, by the way, I think is another reason they need to run more. I think they're going to be in a lot of trouble if they don't run and they get caught in just the half court stuff against, the Liberty or the Sun. They're going to be that's not going to go well for them, I don't think. But I'm going to leave it there. Thanks for listening to me rattle on about this. Hope you enjoyed the game. Hope you enjoyed the video and analysis. If you did, please like and subscribe. You know the deal. I know I ask every time, but it really is huge. I really do appreciate it. And I will talk to you later.